Hello. In this video, I will read and explain the first Hindu editorial of 28 April 2026. Okay. I'm having the editorial in my mobile. You guys take the Hindu editorial and follow with me. Deceptive benign. On retail inflation, oil import dependency. India must move from fossil fuel to avoid amplifying imported inflation. Okay, this is related to this editorial is related to economics. Okay, about the inflation. Deceptive benign. Benign means weak. Deceptively benign. Okay, it is like deceptive way. Okay, deceptively weak. That's what they have started with. While India's March retail inflation means the rise of cost for a particular product. That is inflation. Say that one coffee is 20 rupee. Okay, if it has become 22 rupee for some reason, like milk cost has increased, or coffee powder cost has increased, or sugar cost has increased, so that is inflation 22. If it has reduced to 18 or something, means it is deflation. Okay, retail inflation means when people are going to a shop and buying. There are two kinds of inflation: consumer price inflation, wholesale price inflation. Consumer price inflation is for the people. For us, we are going to a shop and buying something, and if we see an spike in some cost, means this is consumer price inflation. And there is wholesale price inflation, where the shop people or manufacturing industries, those people will be getting raw material, right, like steel or other raw materials. So if they find the inflation price for their purchase, means that is wholesale price inflation, their inflations. um, One inflation may or may not affect the other inflation, because they already might have kept some margin profit, so they sometimes may not increase it to, or drop down to the consumer price inflation, I mean cost. But generally it happens for them to maintain the profit margin or to run the company smoothly. Okay, let me read. While India's March retail inflation at 3.4 percentage rose marginally from February's 3.2 percentage, this increase is deceptively benign. See why they are saying that. Let's go further into the editorial. This is evident from the upward pressure on the wholesale price inflation, which climbed to a 38-month high of 3.88% in March. It is important to note that while the consumer price index, as CPI means consumer price index, has transitioned to a new base year of 2024, the wholesale price index continues to use the 2000 level 12 base year, a divergence that must be kept in mind while interpreting the latest inflation data. Okay, what is this? What is this base year? In wholesale price index, they are saying that they are still maintaining the 2011-12 data. In consumer price index, they are saying that we are now upgraded to the base year of 2024. What does that mean? See, there will be particular numerics value, like a particular household will be spending this much for food items, this much for durable items. Durable means it will be sustaining for a long period of time, like sofa or other material. Non-durable item means food items, those things which will consume and then they will go away. So they will put many parameters. In consumer durables and non-durables, these are all the ratios. For food items, these are all the ratios. In food, they will be having products like lentils, grains, vegetables, and other things. In non-durable, they will be having some items. Similarly, the same things is calculated for the wholesale price index also. What a company will or industries will buy, how much steel they will buy, how much iron core they will get, how much of a wood product or other things they will get. Okay, they will be taking those things and they will be equating it according to the percentage of the consumption, and this will be taken into the average of the past few years where the economy was stable. See, the last one before the 2024 was on 2011-12, which means that on those years 2010-9 or those time, it was stable. The economy was somewhat stable in the Indian economies. Okay, so they took the average and they would have calculated those things. In 2024, in 2019 COVID came, 19, 20, 21 there was disruption, then 22, 23, 24 is going. So based on those recent years, they would have taken the average. Like what average means, like what is the price of this vegetable A for per kg? What is the cost of this product for a particular value? And they would have taken an average. By that, they will calculate and keep it as a base year. So this is the base, and anything which is increasing. So for 2024, they have kept it as a base year for consumer price index. Say that it came to 100. In 100, there are many bifurcations like food expense, educational expense, medical expense, and grocery expense, supermarket expense, and clothing, festivities. So in that consumer price index, which is calculated in 2024 based on the trend of the previous year or recent years around the 2024. Now in 2026 we are calculating this year how much percentage it has increased. Okay, so the behavior also, consumer behavior also will be noted here, which means consumer price index, how much an household is spending, the consumer's behavior is calculated here. See, say that in 2024 consumer price index, the consumer behavior is out of 100 percentage of salary, they're spending, I'm not, it is not the exact one, I'm just saying they spend like 10 percentage of the salary or income on food items. It may not be the same case in the previous consumer price index. At that time it would have been like 15 percentage of their income. So it will vary accordingly, which we should study and get to know about that. What is the exact count? Okay. So the deviation, what is the divergence? See, now we are calculating the consumer price index on 2024 base year, but the wholesale price index is calculated based on 2011, like, which will deviate because the pattern has changed, the consumer behavior has changed, the industry's behavior has changed. It will change eventually as we go on, right? So the calculation metrics also should be what, adjusted accordingly. If it is not adjusted accordingly, means there will be mismatch in the reading. The points or the percentage which are coming here may not exactly match the reality. Okay, that's why it is necessary to update the consumer price index, wholesale price index as times pass on. Okay, like 5 years can be an preferred timeline, or however the government calculates and decides. There are people working for this, and they will be updating it accordingly, like the particular period of year or in year basis. Okay. The wholesale price index continues to use the 2011-12 base year, a divergence that must be kept in mind while interpreting the latest inflation data. That's what they have told us. While the March consumer price index appears comfortably within the RBI's 4 to 6 percentage tolerance band. Okay, what is this 4 to 6 percentage RBI's tolerance band? See, Reserve Bank of India is there. It's one of the duty is to maintain the inflation and to promote the growth of Indian GDP, gross and domestic product. See, what and gross and domestic product means? India as a country will be producing many products, right? Products, services, this, that. Those should increase when compared to, like, they are calculated in terms of money, say. So they should grow, then only the country will grow. Okay, but at the same time, if they will grow, say that 1 kg of milk is certain rupee, cost A. So if it is growing A plus 2 rupee, means inflation has happened, but that means growth is also happening parallelly. It should be the case. If it is decreasing, means it has been deflated, and growth will also reduce. Say that case, because the person is also selling the milk, he should also get income, right? And his growth is also dependent, right? So there is a threshold. I mean, there is an calculated average where the inflation or growth should be of 4% in a country. Say that before a product is of 100 rupee, it can increase to 104%. Okay, which means it is sustainably increasing. So that growth is also sustainably increasing. The price is also sustainably increasing. and it will be like the RBI's target will be of 2% plus or minus 2, which means 4% plus or minus 2. The lowest it can go to minus 2%. Lowest it can go to is 2%. The growth can go to 2%. Instead of 104, it can go to 102. Or highest it can go is to 106%, like 6% increase from 4% plus 2. If the inflation is more than 2%, the average is 4%. If it is more than 2% of the average, 6%, inflation is say that 7% or 6.1%, then it will become a pressure to the public. The inflation has happened drastically. And if the inflation is below 2%, like 100 rupee was the product, now it has increased only to 101 rupee or 101.9, which is below the 2%, which means there is a slow in the growth of the country. So RBI should maintain both the growth of the country, and then the inflation also should be kept in control. Okay, that's why RBI will be having monetary policy committee and all. They will put interest rate caps. Okay, repo rate will be there, reverse repo rate will be there. Those are economic banking concept, because bank is the place which is one of the place which supplies money to the market in the sense to the country. So if the repo rate is less, means more loans will be available for cheap price. If it is available for cheap interest rate, means many people will get money, so that money will go more into the economy, and it will circulate more, which will in turn increase the inflation. And if it is inflation is more, means they will increase the repo rate. So loan interest will be high, people will get less loan from the bank, so that spending of money in the circulation of money will in the economy will become less, so deflation will happen. Likewise, the RBI is maintaining the Indian economy. Okay, the reading masks a far more complex build-up of pressures, driven primarily by raising input cost, especially the fuel prices. See, this inflation is happening, this cost high is happening, the wholesale price, but the main reason which is happening is the main reason which is pushing is the input cost, because the companies wholesale price index is increasing, right? They will be getting the raw material, those are getting costly, and the main contributing factor is fuel price, because fuel we are mostly getting from for abroad, foreign countries, not within India. Most percentage is got from is we are purchasing from foreign countries, and it is purchased in dollar. So if the Indian rupee depreciates with respect to dollar, depreciate in the sense, say that $1 US is there, and Indian currency $1 is equal to 80 rupees. Depreciation means $1 will become 83, because before we were able to buy 1 US dollar for 80 rupee of Indian rupees. If the value of India rupee decreases, which means we are not able to buy, say that $1 is a product, $1 is a product, before we were able to buy that product for 80 rupees of Indian rupees. Now for the 80 rupees we are not able to buy, because the value of Indian money has depreciated. So it has said that it has become 81 rupee, 82 rupee for that 1 US dollar. Now we have to pay 82 rupee for purchasing that 1 US dollar, which means the value of Indian rupee has depreciated. Say that the value of Indian rupee has appreciated, which means now 1 US dollar is 78 rupee or 79 rupee or 76 rupee, which means before we were able to buy only for 80 rupee, now we are able to buy the US dollar for 76 rupee itself. So which means the value has appreciated. So the appreciation of the price also of Indian rupee also affects here. And why we are using the US dollar? It is for a reason which happened in the 1900s. Okay, there was a meeting with all the world people, and it was decided we will purchase crude oil in US dollar, and we will make global transaction in US dollar. And now there are steps like BRICS countries are there, right? Brazil, India, and other BRICS nations. They decided that they will get away from the dollar, and China is pushing their yen, and other countries are trying to de-dollarize. De-dollarize means not to use dollar for the transaction between among other countries, which the United States of America is not happy with. Okay. The reading mask a far more complex build-up, a pressure driven primarily by raising input costs, especially by fuel prices. The wholesale price inflation rose from about 2.4 percentage in February to 3.88 percentage in March. See, the wholesale price inflation in February it was 2.4 percentage, but now it has become 3.88 percentage. There is a huge jump here in percentage in inflation hike, indicating a sharp month-on-month acceleration in the wholesale price pressure. Okay, this has found only mutated reflection in food prices, with the consumer price index rising moderately, roughly from 3.4% in February to 3.8% in March. CPI has increased marginally from 3.4% to 3.8%, whereas the wholesale price index has increased from 2.4% to 3.88%. Okay, now we can see the difference here in this. The contributing factor may be the base year also and other things also. Several factors are driving this divergence. They are saying several factors are diverging this inflation. Okay, the divergence difference. Chief among them, the rupee's precipitous depreciation of about 2.5% to 3% against the US dollar. I explained about the depreciation and appreciation of Indian rupees. They are saying that one of the main contributing factor is the India's rupees depreciation, which is about 2.5 to 3% has depreciated. Okay, which means before we are able to buy for 80, now we have to pay more than 80 rupee to get that $1 US. Given that crude oil and gas are globally traded in dollars, this has amplified imported inflation. We need fuels. We are buying that from the foreign countries, and they are bought from dollars. Now the dollar price has increased for Indian rupees, so we have to pay more Indian rupee to buy that crude oil and gas. So that is also contributing to inflation. And along with that, there is the US Israel war on Iran, right? So that also has caused supply chain disruption for crude oils and gas. So that is also contributing to the increase of those oil and gas, along with the price depreciation. Those supply chain disruption has caused the increase in the fuel. So that also is adding up, which is putting pressure. It's happening all over the world. The crude oil and the fuel, the energy pressure is happening all over the world because of these wars. The US-Israel war on Iran has disrupted supply chain for these critical fuels. Okay, pushing up global prices and transmitting inflationary pressures across economy. Okay. The rupee's depreciation has also raised the cost of imports, including fertilizers. See, the increase in cost, of the depreciation of Indian rupees has also resulted in other things also which we are buying. Crude is one which we are buying. Then we are buying fertilizers. Fertilizers also we are importing from foreign countries. Plastics and petrochemical products which are key to pharmaceuticals. Okay, and textile industries and automobiles. Petrochemicals are important for automobiles industries. When this cost increases, it puts pressure on India. Okay, because we have to spend more money to get those things which are in effect causing inflation. While many firms have observed this cost, this may not be sustainable. See, consumer price index has not increased much. The reason is the industries are absorbing this cost by reducing their profit margin, by reducing their profit margin. But this is not sustainable. At some point of time, they will push it down to the consumer price index so that they will be able to thrive and for them to make profit, because they can't keep on taking the loss, right? Then there won't be much of a profitable way of running business to them, right? So they will increase eventually if this sustains. At the same time, the contraction in exports down above 3% to 4% on year, and import down from 5% to 6% year on year in March is not indicative of the weakening demand alone, but of war-induced supply disruptions. See, export has also contracted, which export means we will be getting US dollar to India, which is needed because so that we will be able to buy other products. But export is also reduced because in US they put many tariff, and there is the war going on, those things. And import is also decreasing because of the disruption in the supply chain. Okay, but a war-induced supply chain disruption. Okay, in response, exporters, particularly MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. This bracket will come on. Like for micro, there will be a different like minimum capital. It should be that minimum revenue should be like that. Unlike small, it will be more than micro, and for medium, it will be more than small. Okay, or redirecting output to domestic markets. So this MSME sectors are selling the product to domestic thing because they are not able to export much. They are selling to the domestic market itself. Aided by policy relaxation, government has also relaxed policies that allows greater domestic sales from export-oriented units. Okay, this has happened. But when this happens, already there was domestic sale. They were selling for they were exporting also. Now exports has disrupted. They are pushing more product to domestic when compared to previous, which will result in domestic choke. Like it will be like too much of product put in domestic. Let's see what the editor has said regarding that. This is creating localized supply gluts, GLUTS, which means more things are put in there, and which is giving a like sudden slowness or sharpness kind of thing. Delay price pass through, even though even producer margins compress due to rising input cost. This is also one of the reason they have reduced the export and putting the product to the domestic market itself. So even though in this way they are maintaining the consumer price index is maintained and increasing gradually only, and at the same time the producers, the person who is selling the product, his margin is also curtailed. He is also reducing his margin and profit. Okay, the result is a temporary suppression of consumer price index. Okay, this is not a permanent solution, it is a temporary one because it is there should be sustainable practice in everything. Okay, as these pressures unwind, okay, inflation is likely to rise even as growth slows. Okay, this is a serious problem. See, if the inflation increases means the growth of the country should increase. If the inflation decreases means the growth should decrease. But if it doesn't match this formula, say that if the inflation increase but the growth is decreased, that is called a stagflation, which is a bad thing. Okay, as this pressure unwinds, inflation is likely to rise even as growth slows, pointing not to a stability but to emerging stagflationary risk. Okay, uh, the IMF, International Monetary Fund's latest World Economic Outlook flags raising global recession risks. Okay, and trims India's financial year 27 growth forecast to around 6.2%. The RBI too has echoed these concerns. Okay, this complex challenges underscores the Vulnerability means weakness of oil import dependent economies. This chart showing the oil import dependence economics weakness. It also presents an opportunity for India to accelerate its shift to renewable energy. See, this editorial is completed. First editorial is completed. See, this is saying that the vulnerabilities of oil dependent import countries. So for this, the editor is giving a suggestion. We should become a renewable energy. We are working towards that. Here the editor is saying to accelerate means to speed up the process to become a renewable source energy dependent country. Okay, thank you.